What is up, my ducks and drakes? Welcome to the Credit Lake. Today we are reading Chapter 7 and 8 of La La Land, a scene science fanfic by Bekka911. If you'd like to support the author, in which you should, you could use the links in the description below to support the fic or the author themselves. In the description, there's also a form to recommend Wattpad Read Aloud, which does not need to be from Wattpad. It does not need to be from Sides. You do not need to write it. This is an open-ended, hey, I suggested this really cool fic kind of thing. So just put the information in that Google form and we could read a fic of your choice on the show. Now with that, we will be going on to Chapter 7. Roman, why do you always doubt yourself? The question was innocent enough, and Princey knew that Patton meant well, but he hadn't slept well, he hadn't eaten as much as he should, and was already incredibly twitchy with the tension in his temples snapped and left behind a screeching much like that of an old kettle. It was a wonder nobody else heard it. He laughed nervously, his head ringing. What are you talking about? Even to his own ears, it sounded fake. I'm fine. The others watched him unblinkably, and something cold gripped the back of his neck. Roman, Virgil said. You told me about your doubt earlier. Roman wished his eyes were lasers just so he could fire them at his counterpart. No, I didn't, he said. No, but it makes sense. Logan adjusted his glasses, and Roman seriously considered screaming in frustration. He wanted them to leave him alone about it. When Virgil's thoughts manifested, they appeared in the form of depression. Roman noticed the darker one flinch. Your thoughts correspond into your separate, quote-unquote, side as such. I defeated doubt, though, Roman argued. And yeah, he'd just admitted that he'd had his brush with doubt, but honestly, what were they going to do? I'm great here, confidence all around. Not necessarily, Logan said. Shut up, Roman muttered childishly. Patton clapped his hands together and smiled. Roman braced himself. Oh, kiddo, Patton gushed. You don't need to doubt yourself. I don't! We love you even with your faults. I don't have any faults. We helped Virgil through his tough time, Patton continued. We could help you through this. That was his breaking point. No, you can't, Prince exploded, running his hands through his hair. I'm not going through anything. I've beaten my doubt. I'm perfectly fine, Patton, and if you insist on telling me otherwise, then I may as well ignore you before you end up persuading me that I'm not okay. I know myself, all right? I think I know whether or not I'm okay. A heavy silence draped over all of them, and Roman felt his chest heave with barely contained sobs. He was fine. He knew he was fine, and the others... Were they trying to change that? The more he thought about it, the more he actually thought about it. It seemed likely. They'd always tried to turn it against him. Now they were trying to make him vulnerable too? I think I need to go, he breathed. Before he could sink down, though, there was a shaky exhale from the stairs. Virgil gave him a look that Roman couldn't bother interpreting. Dude, that was uncalled for. Your attitude was uncalled for when you decided to make things all about you. He flickered deep in Virgil's eyes, but Roman didn't let himself feel guilty. There was a niggling feeling that they'd orchestrated this. It set him up, and now he was standing there, looking like the villain. Virgil had claimed to be the bad guy, he reminded himself harshly. You can't do the same thing. He always hated not being original. Roman, Logan said, is there something going on that we should be aware of? No. That was that. He wanted to sink out, but there was something holding him there. Something that wanted a reaction that he wasn't getting. Roman, I know I'm not the best, he interrupted his host. I know that I'm not very personal. I don't ever want to let you down, but I'm finding it incredibly hard to let you down if you aren't lifting me up in the first place. You gotta give me a chance, guys. You've had chances before. Virgil's voice was harsh, and Roman fought his flinch. Why should you be granted more? Because you were given chances too, Roman shot back. You've had heaps. Why shouldn't I get the same? Because you were always better than me. You like to rub it in my face a lot. You've been better than me forever. You said that you didn't like to have to share. Is that what you want now? Do you want us gone so you have full control again? Virgil! Thomas scolded. Roman and Virgil stared each other down, neither willing to admit that the other was hurting. I think we all need a break, Patton attempted. There was something frayed in his voice that brushed against an exposed nerve. Roman could feel his emotions ringing. He needed to go before he tore down the rest of their little family. Yeah, he said slowly. I think we should take a breather. He sank down before anyone could say anything else. Something shadowy followed him and hugged him tightly as he fought back his yell of utter pain as soon as he made it to his room. Chapter 8. Roman makes a point to avoid the others for days after the confrontation, his breath catching in his throat whenever he sees one of them walking towards him. Once, when he had seen Virgil, his throat had conjured an injured whistle, a low kneeing sound that had his face flushing and his pulse racing. Virgil had looked upset when Princey had rushed away. It's understandable that he's awkward around them. He knows that with an absolute certainty, but a bitter guilt curls around his stomach, and he almost gags on it. He hates that he can't face them, can't face his family. He feels like crying whenever he tries to see Thomas. He doesn't even know what he'd say, but anything has got to be better than suffering in silence that swells in his throat when he leaves his room. He despises his weakness more than he despises what he's turned into, and it rubs his heart raw every time he stops to think that maybe all of this could have been prevented. He could have done more. He could have controlled himself. And now the others know about his darkness, his own stain that had dyed him gray and dull and broken. The others know about the labels that Princey had buried under layers of glamour and songs and performances and doughtishness. His lip curl as he works his way in Thomas's head, shaping and making and snarling furiously to himself as disgust worms its way into his mind. The creative energy he holds blackens and shrivels, and he throws it away with a low growl. Then the tears come, shuddering sobs clawing their way past the void in his throat and tumbling free. The imaginative energy around him curls into his palms, pressing against his skin. He wants it to burn, and he wanted to burn with it, just to get away from the darkening mark around his heart. But maybe there isn't a heart left to darken, because Roman is convinced that there is nothing left in his chest. Everything is devoured by his aching, nothing that envelops him in a guilty numb. He's created enough, he decides abruptly, scrubbing his tears away and shoving his shattered pieces back inside his chest. Thomas should be good for another video, and probably some more. At least he's keeping up with this now. At least he's doing his job. You know what your moping reminds me of? Virgil asks from the bed as Roman rips open the bedroom door. The dark retreat is sprawled on the royal's bed, completely uncaring that he's intruding. Roman prays his eyes are invisibly red and puffy as he crosses his arm and raises an eyebrow regally. I assume you would tell me anyway? That Bo Burnham song. Left brain, right brain. That's not the answer he was expecting. His arms drop to his side, and he snorts in vague amusement. Okay, Virgil, what do you want? Nothing. I don't particularly want to talk to you and listen to the slightly annoying tinge of self-loathing in your tone. I did that first, dude. I thought creativity meant you could create your own trend. That strikes a chord, and Roman holds back his wince, waiting for the anger and indignation that's sure to follow. He doubts that he could hold himself together long enough to be angry anyway. Virgil, I'm tired. Just go away, please. It must be because he said please, because Virgil is gone before Roman can fully exhale. Somehow he doubts that he was the cause of the hurt tears brimming in the counterpart's eyes. No, that ugly sheen wasn't him. Virgil had outgrown Roman's pity insults and pathetic attempts at banter and recollection. He settles on his bed, snapping his fingers to change into something comfier than his usual outfit. He sits up moments later, when nothing happens, and he's left in a regular attire. He tries again, channeling his inner thoughts. Furrows his eyebrows in concentration. Nothing happens. You can't do it, he hears, a breath of nothing, caressing his inner ear. You can't do it, Roman. Why can't you? I don't know, he wants to scream, but in his mouth is that goddamn silence, and he feels it eat at him, and he thinks that maybe it should just finish him off because he can't live like this. He dresses manually, slowly, carefully, afraid that he might accidentally rip his own skin off. He's wild like that, unpredictable. He is his own thunderstorm, raging and quiet and calm in his core. His mind is a tangle of thoughts, a mess of this and that, and oh God, he's thinking too much and really needs to stop. If he figures out in a weirdly quiet moment that he's touch-starved, well, nobody needs to know. Thank you all so much for watching. If you'd like to support the author, please use the links in the description below. If you'd like to support me, you could use my links. I'd appreciate any support that you're willing to give. I have an Etsy shop where I sell beaded things, so that is an option if you'd like to do the extra support. Once again, thank you for watching, and much like Roman trying to not stab Virgil, mentally and physically, do your best.